Hi, my name is Maddie, and I'm going to be talking to you about motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is a collaborative process between a practitioner and a client where we are working towards behavioral change. Today, we're going to be looking at health and lifestyle changes. Now, before we get into the major principles of motivational interviewing, we need to look at the spiritual underpinnings of it. Now, there are three important factors we need to consider before we sit down with our client. We need to understand that this is a collaborative approach between us and the client. The clients are the drivers of their own lives. They're going to be able to provide us with the information and the background that's going to help us collaboratively develop goals so we can work together making those changes for the client. The second is that we're going to be evoking motivation to make those changes through really important factors in our clients' lives. We need to work out and listen to our client. What makes them tick? What's going to encourage them to change their behavior and also keep going when they need to keep going? The last one is that we need to respect our clients' autonomy and their choices. As specialists, we may not agree with some things that our clients do or they say, but it's important to understand that they have autonomy over their lives and that we need to respect that. So, in order to better understand motivational interviewing, we're going to be looking at two major sets of principles today. The first one is rule. Now, I really like this because as therapists and people who help other people, we rule, we rock. So we're going to be looking at rule, which is RULE. Now, for the R, this is a really important one. We need to resist the urge to always be right and be in control. Now, this is really important as this is a collaborative approach and we are encouraging the clients to drive the conversation. It's important for us to not sit there and tell the client, it's not good that you're sitting there on your phone all day, every day. The clients are aware for the most part that their behavior is not great and that it does need a bit of tweaking and changing. If we are sitting there judging them and making negative statements like that, that's only going to induce a sense of shame and guilt, and it's actually not going to encourage our client to want to make those changes or come back and see us. Our second tenet is U, and that is understanding the motivation. We need to understand, why is our client behaving in this way? What motivates them to act this way? So it's important for us to have a conversation and to listen with empathy and understand what they are saying and try and put ourselves in their shoes. The next tenet is L, and that is listen with empathy, and that ties in well with the last one. We want to be listening for the sake of listening to understand rather than listening for the sake for an opportunity to speak. It's important that we are empathetic and active listeners when our clients are speaking. And a really great thing that I like to think about is when we're listening, we try to look and listen to our clients with curiosity and not animosity and judgment. And the last one is E, and that is we want to empower our clients to make the changes. We need to be positive forces in our clients' lives. We need to help guide them through positive conversations about the changes that they want to make and the changes that they want to see. We can't be sitting there telling them exactly what they need to do because that's not actually going to motivate them and help them maintain that motivation and drive to make those changes. Okay, so now we've explored the rule, we're going to be going into our quick hypothetical situation. Susan is a young woman of 33 with 2 young children who has come into the clinic. Susan said that she's experiencing tiredness, fatigue, she's irritable, she's putting on weight, and she's really struggling to connect with her children at home. Now, through our conversations, Susan has identified that she spends quite a few hours on her phone during the day and is too tired to exercise at the end of the day once the kids are in bed. So she's identified that she wants to change those habits of being on her phone and exercising more as the main reasons for being with us. So before we get into looking at rule with Susan and going through ORS, which is our other principle, we need to understand a few things first. The first thing is we need to actually understand Susan a bit more through an initial conversation. We need to understand, what is the importance of this change for Susan? Is it meaning that she's going to be reducing weight, getting healthier, being able to connect better with her children? We need to explore all of those options and actually see if we can find those underpinning important motivational factors for her. We also need to explore, does Susan have the confidence to make those changes? Does she also have the resources to make those changes? Is this going to be a really hard change for her, or is this going to be something that we can easily guide Susan through? And the last thing is we need to make sure we're exploring what kind of priority level is this for Susan? Is this something that she's really desperate to change, or is this something that she's thinking about and that she might make those changes or start to make those changes a bit later? We also need to look at when we get into our short-term plans and our long-term plans with Susan, we need to look at how her motivation is tracking. We need to explore what's in it at the start to motivate Susan. Is it losing the weight? Is that going to motivate her to keep going? Is it spending more time and hearing her children laughing? Is that going to keep her going? We also need to look at when Susan is going for walks and putting down her phone, how do we keep encouraging her to do that? What short-term goals can we create? What incentives can we make? How can we make this a routine for Susan? And the last one is that we need to make sure that we're continuing on with the maintenance of the behavior. How can we help Susan maintain this behavior in the long run? But we also need to address the cessation of behaviors. Life happens, stuff occurs, and sometimes we fall off the wagon. And it's really important as practitioners that we preach that to our clients, that it is more than okay if things fall off the wagon a little bit. It's an opportunity for growth and it's an opportunity for learning. So we really need to express that to Susan to help her understand that this is a cyclical and continuous process. It's not linear. Okay, so now that we've done a little bit of talking about Susan and checking in with the motivation, we're going to be using the acronym OARS. Now, OARS. OARS is really important because this is going to help us drive our motivational interview to be authentic and to help us gather a lot of information, which is going to help us guide our short-term goals, our long-term goals, and also it's going to gently nudge Susan's thinking and reasoning a little bit here. We really want Susan to be making those connections between her current level of behavior and the behavior that she wants. So the first thing for O that we're going to be doing is we're going to be asking a lot of open-ended questions. Now, from our previous discussion, Susan indicated that she spent a lot of her time on her phone. Now, as a way to follow up, I might say, hey Susan, you said earlier that you spend a lot of time on your phone. Roughly how many hours a day do you think you spend on your phone? Or what times during the day do you think you spend the most time on your phone? These answers, hopefully Susan's going to be able to give us a great answer, and it should tell us the patterns of behavior and help Susan realize, hey, actually I'm on my phone a lot during lunchtime or at the end of the day. We can take that information and actually say, well, let's change that. What can we do? What, instead of being on our phone at lunchtime, maybe we could do some calf phrases while you're making lunch for the boys. Okay. Now, the next one we're going to be doing is we're going to be saying some affirmations to Susan. Now, we don't have to say long-winded affirmations. We can merely be present in the conversation as active listeners and say, I'm listening, go on, thank you for telling me. Positive affirmations like that are enough to build rapport and also let Susan know that we are paying attention. More targeted affirmations can also be useful, and there might be some things that I might say to Susan, say, thank you so much for telling me about this. It must be really hard to be at home by yourself with 2 young children. So I'm letting Susan know that I am empathetic and I understand her situation, and that also helps to build trust and rapport. The next one that we're going to be talking about is R, and that's reflection. Now, as a part of reflection, we want to be picking out specific parts of what Susan is saying and just reflecting and checking in to make sure that we have the understanding of what's going on, but that also Susan can hear back what she's been saying. So I might say to Susan, so Susan, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you're telling me that at the current moment you're spending anywhere between 7 and 8 hours a day on your phone. Is that correct? So I'm just providing a short statement for Susan. I'm giving her the opportunity as well to correct me or add more information if she needs to. Now, the last one feeds into that a little bit, and that's summarizing. And this is where we want to take the main crux and main information of the issue. We want to put it all together to demonstrate to Susan that we understand her problem and that we're trying to get to the root of the problem. So we're looking at the main thing. So I might use my skills and I might say, so Susan, let me just see if I've got this. So you're spending most of your time at home with the boys. You spend between 7 and 8 hours on your phone during playtime with the boys or when they're resting or they're eating. You're not eating particularly well, you're not sleeping well, and you're not being able to connect with the boys properly. Is that what I'm hearing? Now, I gave Susan the opportunity to answer and say, yep, that's right, or no, that's not quite right. I'm always leaving it open so Susan can add information or change information for me.